Well, here we are. It's that time again. I'm Marty with Warehouse and Operations as a Career. I've gotten behind on some questions that's been sent in, so let's see if we can get a few of those answered or brought up for discussion today. A gentleman named Kevin has been looking into or thinking about becoming a driver and maybe launching a career in transportation. He sent us an email and asked what was meant by doubles and triples in transportation. He states that being from the warehouse, he's heard of double jacks and triple jacks, but certainly they don't mean 2 or 3 trailers. Well, Kevin, that's exactly what it means. You've probably seen sets of doubles on the highway before. Most LTL carriers utilize 2 shorter trailers, maybe 28-foot or 36-foot trailers, and that's kind of the norm in most states. There's a few states like Arizona, Colorado, Idaho, Indiana, Kansas, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, South Dakota, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Oregon, and I believe Utah can, and in certain instances and byways, carry triples. I'll add a really good link, several links actually today in the show notes regarding some of the lesser-known transportation rules across the country. And you know, all those states.gov sites have some really up-to-date and great information on their individual rules and regulations too. Some good downtime reading, if you will. Oh, and a couple of states will allow 253-footers as well, mainly only on the interstates where we can utilize shuttle points or drop-in hook yards to meet up with delivery drivers for those final miles, though. And that kind of leads us into another question sent in by Mark. What is a trailer dolly? I believe he is referring to a converter dolly that's used to connect or couple the trailers together. I've seen 1, 2, or even 3 axle dollies, depending on their use. They have like a A-frame construction with a coupler or a spindle hitch on one end to connect to the first trailer and a 5th wheel hookup on the other so that we can connect the next trailer. Now, mainly I've seen them with like spring brakes and air brakes. In my experience, it's important to complete a good pre-shift check or pre-check when using a dolly. Check that spindle hitch and the 5th wheel closely and make sure the locking jaw is securely around the kingpin. And here's a question from a Las Vegas gentleman. I think I saw this on a local job board out there. Anyway, he was asking, what does drop-in hook mean? Well, this simply means the driver will carry a load to the consignee or yard and unhook it at the door or staging area and pick up another load or an empty trailer. He or she never has to unload or touch the freight. They're just dropping off and picking up trailers. And that's much different than a live load where the driver is connected to the trailer while he or she waits on the warehouse to load it, or a live unload where they're waiting for the trailer to be unloaded by themselves, or maybe a lumper service. He also asked, what is a com check? Com Data Services is probably the most known electronic payment platform for the transportation industry. A com check is a paper check issued by Comdata, which is connected to a credit account and requires some type of additional authorization, such as a purchase order number or an authorization code. It's most often used by professional drivers to buy lumper services, but also can be used to purchase other goods and services as well. And another question that came up in a conversation recently was, how do you know if a trailer has maintained a certain temperature throughout its travels? Way back when we used to use something called a Rytec graph chart recorder, it was an orange or red box about 4 or 5 inches and maybe 3 inches thick that had a battery and a roll of graph paper in it that a needle would, kind of chart out the load. Now, they did a really good job, and the receiver had documentation to attach to his or her receiving PO that the load was of quality and was safe. We'd have to gather them up, after we had 10 or 12 units, box them up and send them back to the manufacturer to be reloaded. Today, most devices are about the size of a credit card. You turn it on and place it somewhere in the middle or towards the end of the load, and it records the entire trip. When the driver arrives at their destination, the receiver simply waves it across a reader, and the data is sent to their computer. Much easier and cost-effective. But that's what technology is all about, right? Oh, and here's one I've gotten 3 or 4 times. What is a Jake brake and why is it illegal? Well, a compression brake or engine brake is sometimes referred to as a Jake brake. It is a separate component installed on diesel engines that, when engaged, releases stored compressed air from the cylinder at the top of the piston stroke, preventing it from returning all that energy to the crankshaft and powering the downstroke, and slowing the vehicle as the air is compressed. When we depress the clutch, if we have it switched on, it will activate with whichever setting that we have it set to. Usually there is going to be a low, medium, and a high setting. Its purpose is to aid in braking our unit. It helps prevent our brakes from heating up, and I guess can extend the life of our braking system. It's really just a switch on and switch off system. The signs that say it's illegal is telling us that due to the noise all that compression makes, that they can't be used in the city limits or on those streets, sometimes just during certain hours of the day or night even. You know, most all the questions we receive about transportation come in from people considering a career in the field or wanting to get their commercial driver's license. I'd encourage you to check out the many transportation groups on Facebook and really the thousands of Instagram posts from the professional drivers out there. Driving is a great and rewarding profession, and every driver I've ever met is more than willing to share their knowledge and opinions with us. And with transportation being the profession it is, so much written information is out there about the industry. Whether we're looking to just become a driver or maybe even an owner-operator, maybe we'll eventually open our own hauling company, who knows? I've always found some great books on the business of trucking, and I used to subscribe to several trucking magazines. Talk about, learning and hearing from the pros. Check out those kinds of articles. You'll learn a lot. A couple of my favorites were the 10-4 magazine. Another good one was Road King. What else did I used to subscribe to? American Trucker was a good one. And I think another one was called Overdrive. I always found magazines kind of a shortcut to learning the way drivers talk and all that lingo. You ought to check those out and see if they're still around. I bet most of them have an online magazine now, too. Speaking of knowledge, if you're one of the many of us working with reduced hours right now, or maybe even has been furloughed for a week or two, what better time to get some research done and learn about other companies we may be interested in and that could possibly help our careers? I know myself, I've joined a couple of networking Facebook groups I didn't even know existed and found a couple of job boards online that are kind of catering to the light industrial fields right now. And I think most importantly, don't forget about those free or low-cost classes we can take online too. I've taken 4 free courses on supervision and Excel and Microsoft Word. You know, everything is going to get back to normal shortly, and look how much more we'll know. If you'd like to know more about where to find any of that type of information, just send us an email to host@warehouseandoperationsasacareer.com, and I'll make sure we send you some links to look up. And don't forget about all the knowledge roaming around on our Facebook and Twitter feeds, where you can find us using that little @ WHSEANDOPS, or maybe stop in the Warehouse Equipment Operators community group. Who better to answer our questions than all those doing the job, right? Until next week, everyone be safe out there, and please take all our safety training home and share it with those we care about and for.